Neil Armstrong, a U.S. astronaut, was the first of only 12 humans to set foot on the moon on July 21, 1969. He famously said, "One small step for man, one giant leap for all mankind," as he first stepped upon our satellite. However, given NASA's unexplained files, were these 12 individuals the only ones to leave footprints on the moon? Before we show you the images of the enigmatic footprints on the moon, we would like you to subscribe to our channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave us a like at the end of the video. We know that there is at least one hint to other footprints on the moon that were obviously not left by humans, so who else could have been on the moon? If you liked that, we'll now show you what NASA experts were unable to explain after discovering anything on the moon. Music. Unidentified footsteps on the moon. There is absolute silence, and the moon is a celestial body that is dry, dusty, and devoid of any winds or erosion. Human footprints from the 1960s will probably still be visible millions of years from now because, owing to lunar reconnaissance, 12 persons have officially left footprints on the lunar surface since 1969. The latest of which were Apollo 17 astronauts Harrison Schmitt and Eugene Cernan. Orbiter pro-NASA scientists have discovered a set of footprints on the moon that are obviously not those of Apollo astronauts. The amazing photos reveal a sequence of footsteps that span more than 100. This collection of unexplained observations and occurrences surrounding NASA missions and space observation naturally piques the interest of all friends of the unusual amateur astronomers and UFO researchers. The unsolved files of the U.S. Space Agency have been documenting for decades all the things researchers do not like to speak publicly about, things that should not actually exist. How do the researchers know this well? That is fairly easy to answer, because the tracks you can see here are far too large for a human to be responsible for them. However, it is unclear from whom do they originate. What did Harrison Schmitt and Eugene Cernan observe on the moon? A complex mystery has emerged in recent decades surrounding NASA's previous Apollo missions. It is said that the astronauts discovered evidence of extraterrestrial life on the moon, but for safety reasons, NASA did not fly there again despite planned missions. All of this nonsense claims that NASA halted the moon missions because lunar exploration had simply run out and the Apollo missions had grown too costly. Among other things, the astronauts Harrison Schmitt and Eugene Cernan's visit was captured on multiple film recordings. Other pictures show the two well-behaved men tearing across the lunar surface in their lunar rover for almost 30 miles because of the thick spacesuits and lower gravity. Harrison Schmitt is seen joyfully bouncing around on the lunar surface in one of the photos. Later, the astronaut dubbed this joyful run on the moon his own version of the moonwalk. Aside from the isolation of the lunar environment, the two did not come across anything gory, unusual, or even alien. Of course, they left their marks, but the astronauts' difficulties with locomotion and vehicle control were something they had practiced for years on Earth. Even in 2009, the rover's footprints and traces are still clearly visible on photos, captured by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. However, the orbiter's photos reveal something else. Roughly 19 miles from the footprints of Schmitt, Cernan, and every other NASA astronaut, a mysterious trail winds through the lunar dust. Scientists made initial attempts to explain the images after they were made public. Benjamin Weiss, a lunar geologist who was among the first to react on the discovery, stated that he believed the footprint impression could only be an optical illusion, suggesting that the prints would look like. However, footprints are actually a sign of some sort of geological activity. The moon geologist is currently unable to determine what kind of geological phenomenon on the moon would leave such a trace, but it is certain that the trace cannot be from human feet because the steps are too big. Benjamin Weiss's explanation attempt sounds plausible at first. The only thing is that there is very little geological activity on the moon today. All craters which we know originate from asteroids or comet impacts the moon today knows neither plate tectonics, nor earthquakes, nor erosion. Especially the serpentine shape of the track also speaks against the theory here. A small meteorite could have hopped after its impact. Later, geologists found a logical explanation for the phenomenon. The holes reminiscent of footprints were most likely created by an underground tunnel, many billions of years ago when the Moon was still comparatively young. Their thoughts have been active volcanism on the Moon since traces on the Moon remain. Almost unchanged for millions and billions of years, this could indeed be an explanation. Researchers immediately set out to find similar phenomena on other moons and dry dust plains like Mars, but they finally found what they were looking for. Not in the cosmos, but here on Earth. One scientist was amazed at how much the Moon's footsteps resembled the lava beds, a famous natural feature in Northern California, are a million-year-old volcanic structure with holes created by a hot lava passage beneath it. Hawaii's Shield volcano still exhibits comparable geological activity today. Interestingly, the idea of underground tunnels and duct systems on the Moon was first proposed in 1901 by H.G. Wells, a pioneer of science fiction novels. In The First Man on the Moon, the author describes underground passage systems on Earth's satellite that are ruled by sinister creatures. Mount Kilauea lava also branches out in half-mile-long tubes or tunnel-like passages. In the upcoming years, NASA and Elon Musk's SpaceX space company are planning manned stations on the Moon. These will serve as stopovers for manned flights to Mars in the future, and in the case of SpaceX, such stations could also accommodate lunar tourists. For very specific reasons, modern humans may be most interested in an underground system of ancient lava tunnels on the Moon. If humans were to establish a colony on the Moon in the coming years, they would find permanent geological structures and protection from cosmic radiation. In addition to the enigmatic lava tunnels, they would discover their traces from 50 years of lunar space travel. Among the most strange items that humans have brought to the Moon so far is a framed family photo from 1972 that was left there by an Apollo 16 astronaut. The back of the photo reads, "This is the family of astronaut Charlie Duke of planet Earth who landed on the Moon on April 20, 1972. Since almost every Apollo mission has left a U.S. flag on the Moon, collectors might find some of these iconic spacecraft memorabilia. In addition to flags and pictures, there is already something akin to a lunar cemetery, where the ashes of American geologists and pioneer of lunar exploration, Gene Shoemaker, flew to the Moon in 1998 aboard the Lunar Prospector spacecraft. Travelers will place their own flags in the lunar dust, and SpaceX will probably place a company flag on the Moon. Who knows, maybe in 10 or 20 years we'll have neon signs on the Moon. Supposedly, the artwork secretly flew to the Moon, aboard Apollo 12, and is still the only art museum in space. Another piece of art is the Fallen Astronaut, an aluminium sculpture by Belgian artist Paul van Hooijdonk that was brought to the Moon by David Scott, commander of the Apollo 15 mission. The plaque, which is face down, lists the names of 14 people who died on lunar missions or during other space missions, along with a variety of mementos. Forthcoming. From space shuttle descent stages to moon buggies, travelers are likely to enjoy a variety of technological bells and whistles on the Moon. However, the cost of transporting the equipment to the Moon was high enough, and the cost of returning it was not even considered at this time. Finally, it is important to note that, according to official NASA information, there are currently 96 bags of trash on the Moon. Bringing the 96 bags of trash back to Earth is still on NASA's list of unfinished business. It would undoubtedly be very profitable for SpaceX to bring back lunar vehicles and other lunar artifacts. In 2019, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, revealed his Blue Moon lunar lander. It is still unclear when exactly this will launch to the Moon, but on board these space shuttles, in addition to space tourists, there will undoubtedly be lunar geologists who will be able to get to the bottom of the mysterious traces on the lunar surface on site. This will allow us to be curious about what will happen on the Moon in the coming years and what exciting discoveries the 21st century lunar pioneers will make. Do you think that there are or were aliens on the moon? Please, share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section below.